Hello, it's Alara here from Alara Vural Coaching. And for those of you that don't know me, I help business owners access unlimited natural energy, focus, and motivation through helping them find and align with their purpose through an 8-week transformation coaching program. And today I have a really special guest called Dave Heraud, and he is a purpose-based business owner. And I've only recently connected with him, but he has a really interesting story, and I wanted to invite him on to share his story with me.
Are
Hello. Yeah,
we
yeah,
there?
that's much better.
Are we there?
Yeah.
Do we make it work? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Woo!
Sorry
I'm
about
glad. We got a sad face, a crying face from someone. I don't know who it was that dropped it, but
that. All good.
how are you?
Very good. Friday evening here, so after this will be, it's relaxing. It'll be good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Great, thank you. So it's morning for us, and I actually, for those of you who are watching, I
Yeah.
actually got the time zone conversions wrong. So Dave was expecting to jump on like an hour before. So Dave is based in Australia, and I'm in the UK. So
It's all right.
opposite sides of the world.
That's it.
Yeah, it's actually raining here today, so which is a bit refreshing because it's been pretty sunny recently. So it's nice to have some rain. Otherwise, all the grass starts drying out. So that's good.
We don't have that
No,
drama
it's the
here.
middle
We
of
get
winter
enough
for you,
rain.
right?
Yeah. It is. But I'm up in Queensland, so it's always that nice
Yeah,
tropic weather.
yeah,
So it's good.
awesome. So I wanted to get Dave on because we recently connected we connected online, and we just kind of had a few calls. And I find his story really interesting. And even though it's out of Dave's comfort zone, I asked him, "Can you get on a live video with me to share your story?" So I'm really really grateful that you could come. Um,
All
yeah,
good.
well,
All good.
Dave is actually doing some like you're raising money for a charity at the moment, right? And you need to end up you're going to go on TV. Yeah,
Yeah. So this should be an easy
this is a
step,
baby
right?
step.
This is I'm just building up
Yeah,
the baby steps to that point. So yeah, we got in October. Yeah, got to jump on TV for a 5-day
awesome.
event, which will be interesting.
Is it national
Yeah.
TV or?
Yeah. Look, to be honest, like I said to you before, with decision making for me, I don't really. Especially if it's something that has a bit of fear in it for me, I don't look too much
Yeah,
into the details. So
don't
to
know.
be honest, I
Yeah.
don't know. And I prefer to have it that way. Yeah. So,
Awesome.
yeah. No, but it'll be good. It'll be a good experience.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So,
I don't think I've ever been on TV, so there you go.
yeah. We can swap if you like.
Yeah, I definitely I'm up for being in the spotlight. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to make this live video quite like a half an hour one, short, sharp. But I know that there's some really cool stuff that you have to share and that we can talk about as well. So I wanted to start from kind of
Sure.
when you first became a business owner. Like, why did you become a business owner? Like, what was it that led you into that? And yeah, like what was your first business?
Okay. So I suppose I mean I always grew up in a family that was very business minded, and there was a lot going on. My family was full of accountants and financial planners, so everything was very structured in that way. My first official business was as part of a franchise
Yeah,
called Pizza Capers, which was in 2009. But I suppose I'd had one job sort of growing up, but my goal had always been to try and
yeah,
find ways to make money where I didn't have to get a job. My mum was like, go and work in the supermarket, be a checkout chick. And I was like, whatever I
yeah,
have to do
no,
to avoid that, I'll do that. So I was always trying to find creative ways to make money before then. But that was my official first business. But as I say, before then, I'd sort of, when I was even at school, I had people that were, we were doing sort of groundskeeping work for people, with quite a bit of money and things like that. And I ended up sort of building up a small workforce of people that were sort of helping me do that and things like that. So we did a lot of that sort of stuff growing up.
So did you find that with your first business just kind of exploded and went off the ground, or like did you find that you kind of had to go a little bit down the business business journey before you found kind of, I guess, your first taste of real success? Like when was it that it kind of like started, the chart started turning for you and you were like, this is working?
Well, yeah. So I mean, in that first proper business I had, I put everything into it, and it was kind of, I think I was honest, like I was sleeping in my shop a lot, because I was just there so much, and that went fantastically well at the start. And I suppose what happened that after 11 months, I got approached that was part of a franchise. I got approached by the franchisor to open another site. And my ego was like, oh, well, I've got one. This is easy. I mean, how hard could two be, right? Like I've got the team sorted and all that. And it was honestly like the biggest, mistake I've made in my business career. And I was very thankful for that. Like I've ended up walking away with over $500,000 debt from that venture. But, I look at that as, that's a positive. I kind of see that as, if you make your mistakes early, that you'll save yourself later on. So even though that's been a huge burden, it was still a fantastic opportunity to learn to not make decisions in business based on ego and not based on doing due diligence and things like that, like I'd done. So as I say, it was I got hit pretty hard pretty early. But that was really good for me.
And I guess like it's sometimes hard to know if a decision is coming out of ego or if it's like where the decision is coming from. Like it's like for me, I always find that like being a business owner, like having your own business or an entrepreneur, goes really hand in hand with like a personal development journey or like self-development, self-awareness. And I guess like that's kind of the sting that you felt from making an ego-based decision. Like probably was the first like slap in the face, I guess is the best way I could describe it. Like how did you know it was your ego rather than coming from somewhere else where something actually went wrong? When did it become like just a business into an actual self-awareness journey, I guess?
All right. So basically, I figured it out at about 4 weeks into that business that it was a monstrous mistake, and I suppose there were a lot of points to look at as to why that had happened. And as I say, there was I don't know. I mean, you can look at anything and be quite factual about it and say, well, there were so many business reasons why that business should have opened, and it was. It was only ego. I'd opened the first one in March of 2009, and then the second one in December of 2009. And even the franchisor was asking me, why are you in such a rush to open this other one? I was in a rush to prove myself to me, to everyone else, to all that sort of stuff. And it was like, I suppose I've become a lot more aware now of if there is, I think there's a difference between that sort of pushback that you can feel and fear. And I've really learned to sort of listen to that pushback. If things really aren't working and things are hard, then you probably need to have a good look at why that is, and the way that I raised the money for that, was, not the proper way of doing it. And because I was just in that state, I was like, whatever I've got to do to get this done, I will just get it done. And so now I don't operate. I do have a side of that to me, but I use it with restraint. It's not in such a cavalier way that it's just whatever, whenever we just go,
No,
going hard all the time.
100%. And I
So
guess that comes back to
yeah.
the kind of like what is the motivation behind like doing this business? And I think like when people first start their business, it usually is an coming from that place of ego. You were saying for you it was trying to prove yourself. I know for some people it's just about the money, like just trying to make money, and uh, perhaps for you as well. But I found that really interesting, the point you made about like knowing the difference between when you're feeling fear and you're just trying to, but it's a good kind of fear that you need to grow through, versus the pushback where you just need to take that as
Mm,
feedback and do something about it. And yeah, I think that
mm,
does come from, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it does come from having the self-awareness to know, is this my ego wanting me to just keep on going and kind of not accept that something needs to change, or I need to take some feedback, or is this just some growth pains
mm.
of kind of fear of, going into new realms, like, doing a live video or whatever that might be. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Mm.
I'm really wondering, and I think probably our watchers are as well. What do you feel like your main driver when you kind of went into business first was? You said it was kind of trying to prove yourself. Like when you reflect now, what do you find was the thing that was driving you the most?
So I mean, look, it wasn't about the ego thing. That second business that was ego making that decision, and it was just a poor execution of something and pushing it
Yeah,
through when I shouldn't have, right? So I suppose the thing now about sort of intuition and listening to your gut and things, and that's where I'm sort of saying, it's I find it's internally, but it's also externally that there's sometimes when things are hard and you just need to push through them, and there may be more fear based and things like that. But there's also times when they're just hard and you just do need to look at them and say, this is too hard. Like there's a reason why this is not working, right? So, I always went into business. The first business I went into was mainly just because, I mean, I needed freedom for myself, but I also wanted
yeah,
to serve other people. So even though I went into a pizza franchise, people would say, oh, well, yeah, what's that got to do with serving people? But I had an opportunity to go into Domino's, or I had to go into a gourmet brand, and I went into the gourmet brand because I wanted to give people a better experience. I wanted to give them that restaurant quality at home. I wanted to serve them. I wanted to delight them. I wanted them to
yeah,
have a fantastic time. If I just wanted to make money, it was a much better opportunity for me to go into
yeah,
Domino's and do that, right? And it was just very transactional, very much, just slap it out as quick as you can and just make the dollars. So,
yeah,
like as we've spoken about before, when you start to find out your purpose and things, all these sort of things are just, there's all of that
yeah.
common theme, right? Like and I suppose, listening and seeing what that is and
Yeah,
following it.
yeah, no, 100%. And like I think making intuitive decisions in business is something that's kind of um, it's not really taught. I don't know if you felt very equipped with being able to make intuitive decisions in your business, but I feel like
Mm,
it's not something that is really it like we were talking about it this morning, actually, kind of like the polar opposites, right? Like I feel like in society it's kind of like one side is, you're either a really intuitive person, but that means, you've got nothing to do with business or money, or you're kind of like a really businessy person that's um, very serious and wearing a suit all the time, kind of person. And I think like this perception of like the polar opposites of you either have to be one or the other makes it really hard for people to actually use the good sides of both. And like
mm.
I know that you've actually had multiple businesses, haven't you? So like did that kind of play
Yeah.
did the kind of trying to combine intuition with business play a role in you changing businesses? Like what was the main reason that you changed the businesses that you did?
Well,
Does that make
so
sense?
I mean, we can get into that. That's more basically the
Yeah,
business that I'm in now. But when I got into the last business in the construction, that was I was very close to being bankrupt. Everything was very, very bad, and it was to make money as quick as
yeah,
possible, make money. And even though that was the underlier of why I started it. I suppose the foundations and truths of who I was and who my business partner were that we still wanted to serve people and we still wanted to do great work and everything. So that still never changed. I mean, we went into that business because we were both, borderline bankrupt, and we had to make money, and we did, and it went fantastically well. But we had definitely sewn ourselves into a situation where we couldn't really, properly express who we were and do things how we wanted to. And, I suppose the biggest lesson I've been having along the way is that sort of intentional development of the business that you have, and that's to think, that you can create something in one space and then morph it into what you want it to be later is just unrealistic. I've had way too many occasions where it just doesn't happen, and I've found that so many times in business there's, I do have two sides to me. It's one is very corporately minded, very contract driven and straight down the line. And the other one, who I want to be, is the complete opposite, right? And I suppose that, the Wolf Partners now is an embodiment of that we are that in between of those two. We take the best of both worlds, that we don't go, off the deep end in any which way, but it's been intentionally started in that way to serve people in a specific way, and not to say, well, we're going to be fear driven and we're going to, just do whatever it takes. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll deal with anyone, and we'll do any sort of work at the start, and then later we'll bring in the right people. We'll do the good work. We'll and it's just bullshit. Like, it's just not how it works. It's, whatever you're putting out is honestly what you're going to attract. And people want to look at that and think that that's some, sort of hippie comment. But I look at that and say, honestly, it's, even just down to basic marketing. If you put out that you want these specific sorts of people, well, guess what? You're going to attract them. And that's just how normal business is. So it's very hard once you're attracting a certain type of client and doing a certain type of work to right that ship. Like, it just doesn't come true. You just need to start it right from the start. And not, I mean, I can look at that now and say, well, if anyone's listening to this and saying, well, I've got a business and I'm not doing what I want, do I need to chuck it in the bin? It's like, well, no, but I did, because my personality doesn't allow me to really do things by halves. So we were full one way, and and really I wanted to be full the other way. So I don't think most people are like that. So
okay. So that's I think that's a really interesting transition that you're talking about, because you were in the construction business and you just needed to make money, and obviously you still did want to serve people in your heart, but really you were just trying to make money at that point, and it did start getting off the ground, and actually it did really well by the sounds of it, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, very well. So, far better than we ever expected.
Okay, so I'm really interested in what was the kind of the effects of, you got a business that's doing really well, that's making lots of money, but you felt like you couldn't really fully express yourself, or you and your partner couldn't really fully express yourself. So what was the effects of that at the time? Because for a lot of people it's like, well, you're making money, but what's the problem? Whereas, I think we've kind of got past that stage, and I really want to give our viewers the kind of the bird's eye view of okay, you get to the point where you're making money, you got to, but is that the end goal, or what was the problem? What was the problem that was so painful that ended up, well, you shut down that business, didn't you? Or you sold it to move on to the.
So, I mean, there's this thing that we had in the office that people would say, no one came near me on a Friday. Dave had Friday rage, right? And Friday rage wasn't actually against anyone or anything specifically, but it wasn't really targeted at all. It was just, I was just so angry that we get to the end of the week and it'd be like, all we have done is made money. Is that it? Is that really all we're doing? And it just was incredibly lonely and frustrating, and it was absolutely horrible. And I suppose, I think until the time, and this is just a personal thing, but maybe it's for others, but until the time when you really make good money, that's that step, right? And it's like, oh, everything. And look, I think that most people are, awakened enough to not, think that money is going to make them happy and things like that, right? But there's a certain level of, I think, when I get to the point of having the money, that then I'm going to have the freedom to be who I want to be, to do what I want to do, and all this sort of stuff. And again, I sort of come back to that thing of, well, have you intentionally built something that does that? Because I never did, right? I've always been a frugal business person. That's the easiest way to make $1 is to save $1, right? So if you don't spend it, then that's the quickest dollar you ever make. And and the problem with that is you just trap yourself. You get stuck in these things. And so for me, figuring out exactly what my purpose is, it's like freedom is so at the heart of it. And it's like, and it becomes this sort of, paradox really of, I want money for freedom, but then, when you make lots of money, then you're sort of trapped. You are stuck in this perpetual cycle of, well, now people rely on you, and you've got the staff, and you've got all the clients, and it just never ends. And it's like
freedom that you have.
So you get stuck in there, right? So I suppose, so in that construction business, I had a business partner. I've always valued having partners in my business, and I suppose that's probably that underlier of freedom in there as well. But I just fundamentally enjoy, and just thrive on doing things with others and seeing others win as well. And I just think that to win alone is just such a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I actually answered your question there, but
so from what I understand, from what you just said, you were making the money, but it was like your emotions were all over the place. Like you were constantly angry, frustrated, feeling lonely, and I guess that affects like how present you can be in your company, and how much you can really give to it and feel like you're making a difference in the world. And I know both of us follow Simon Sinek, and if anyone who's watching this doesn't, please do. He's amazing. But he has this concept called the why statement, and it's kind of like, as a business owner, you're going to know what you do, right? This is, I do construction, I do business coaching, I do, yoga, whatever it is. I know, you know what you do, because when people ask you, what's your business about? You like normally, our default answer is, just to tell them what we do. And I think what you were experiencing with the construction business, where it was doing really well, the what was thriving, but actually internally, you just weren't fulfilled, constantly angry and feeling really lonely.
Well, I mean, the what was pigeonholing me, and that's what I didn't like. So I was constantly being told, "Oh, you're a builder," and then when I'd go back and I'd see past clients, and I'd be helping them out with, something operationally in their business, or a staff member was being troublesome, and I was sort of helping them out, and some of them would get it, and then others would sort of be like, "You were my builder, like, why are you here?" And it's like, well, because I'm not a builder. I mean, I wasn't a builder anyway, but my business partner was. But that whole sort of, I just felt, when we go back to that freedom thing, I felt so sandbagged into this position of, well, you are this, so therefore you can't be anything else. And just people are so they've so got their blinkers on about what they do and what people do, because it's it's obviously it's safe, right? Like no one has to try very hard if we just break it down to, well, what do you do? And sort of we can all just make assumptions. Oh, if you do this sort of work, then you must be that sort of person and stuff. And it's such a horrible and missed opportunity for so many people that they could do incredible things if they were given the opportunity.
And I think that is a result of kind of being stuck in the what you do, because when you're stuck in what you do, then you're automatically given a label with that, you do construction, therefore you're a builder, kind of thing. Like you're equated with the actual thing that you do, rather than the deeper the deeper cause of why you do something. And this is something that, like something that Simon Sinek is driving forward, but connecting to why you do something. And I really want to like just quickly explore the process that you went through to connect to that, like finding your purpose basically, that led you, okay, like, right, this business is doing
Mm.
great, but I'm not loving it, I'm not making an impact in the world. So
Yeah.
what now? Like, what do I do about it? So, like, what did you do about it?
It was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. I think if I'd met someone like you, or all the work that we've done in the last year within our
Yeah,
company to get where we are, yeah, if we'd sort of had that at the ready, yeah, things would have been different. But to be honest, I think I'm a bit of a sucker for pain anyway. So the horrific, process, I can find, some
yeah,
validity in. So for me, it was basically I was part of this group called the Entourage, which are in Sydney in Australia, and I went and did this course down there, and it was about sort of defining your purpose
yeah,
and vision for your life. And as part of that, we had to write our obituary, and this was such a landmark moment for me. It was just
yeah,
absolutely horrific. It was, I wrote this thing out. I was bawling I mean, look, everyone was bawling their eyes out, right? And they said that that's what would happen. And I was like, oh, as if, we'll see what happens. And I think like I was borderline like the worst person there, because I just read this thing back, and I was like, I am so far from the
yeah,
truth of what I'm meant to be doing. Like, when you just know it, but you don't deal with it, right? And reading your own handwriting, saying you are so missing the point of what you're meant to be doing. It was just absolutely horrific. So I went and did that. So we wrote the obituary, and it was horrible. And literally, I had my business partner there at the time, and we, that night just said, we've got to get out of this. It's this isn't working, and we did. So we put the business online. It was online for maybe 9 months. We got to a point where we had buyers. We had incredible figures. As I said, like the business side. If you're looking, what success is. If success is numbers in business, then this business
yeah,
had it in spades. Um, in the end, 9 months later, we had people hanging around. It was probably going to take maybe 6 to 12 months. Everything was just um, taking too
yeah,
long in my eyes. And I basically just one day just turned to my business partner and I said, look, we can make more money. We can't
yeah,
make more time. We're going to go. Like, yes, we're going to walk away from over $1 million, but who cares? Like, let's go. And honestly, I mean, it was a horrific and traumatic time, but it was just, I tell you what, it was the most liberating feeling, and I had no idea why it felt so good and so free, but it did. And I ended up taking my family overseas for a few weeks, and I turned to my wife, and we're over in Japan. I just said, look, I don't get it. I have no idea how I'm going to make money. We're over here, we're spending money. This all seems ridiculous and absolutely
yeah,
perfect at the same time. I couldn't figure it out, but it was like, I need to do this. I need to just keep making those hard decisions that feel right, and just keep doing that. So we started doing that, and I started this business, which ended up having a name change. But basically, what we're talking about is Wolf
yeah,
Partners, which is what we have now. And I started, and then the old self came back in, right? Fear crept back in. Oh God, we need to get clients on. I ended up partnering with an amazing guy that does professional supervision and executive coaching and stuff like that. And he'd been helping me for years, and I'd always known that I'd wanted to do something with him. So again, I just followed my gut, and I rang him when I was over in Japan. I said, when I get back, I want to talk to you. I want to start a
yeah,
business. I want you to be part of it. Let's see what we can do. So I kept following that, but as I say, the old self came back in. The fear came in. Oh, we'll just get people on, and then things just, ended up. The Friday rage came back, but it wasn't Friday. It was Tuesday, right? And it's like, I'm like, this is not good. This is not good. We need to figure this out. So in the end, I ended up with no clients. the guy I was working with, he still kept his clients because he was doing what I saw as really valid and great work. And I ended up spending whatever it was, about 6 months, just very much going inside and looking at, what made me tick and who I was. And I spent a lot of time just sort of sitting and, for the first time in my life, instead of intentionally pushing and trying to create something, just seeing what came. And this amazing whole process happened where I ended up just literally following my gut, following my nose, that things, came across Simon Sinek's book. And there was no reason. I sort of just saw the label. I'm like, that sounds interesting. Having no idea what that means. Started reading it. And then all these things, and it's like meeting you was exactly the same. It was just so random, and just everything has just started to flourish from this, from that understanding of first trusting your gut. But then for me, that wasn't enough. I really needed to understand what that was. And I found that in that understanding of exactly who you are and what makes you tick is then that basic intuition and gut instinct, and that thing that's telling you or pulling you in or out of things, that you can actually quantify that, and you can label it, and you can basically set, this basic framework to now start looking at things, right? So I went through that whole process, and that was absolutely incredible. But the amazing effect that I've had since was just this sense of calm, of being able to understand, accept who I am, but also that I can just genuinely connect with people and not feel that I have to say something or do something or be someone or anything like that. I just don't give a shit. Like, I'm just me, and you either like me or you don't like me, and we move forward, appropriately. But the interesting thing was having these, these other business opportunities arise, which is always part of what I wanted to do as part of this business. And having no fear as part of it was an incredible, added bonus that happened from figuring out who I was. That it was kind of like, I just basically was able to look at things and look at business opportunities and say, well, this is who I am and this is what I bring. And without fear or prejudice or anything, do we align or not? And there was no fear of judgment. There was no fear of scarcity. There was nothing. It was just basically, this is who I am. This is how I operate. This is what I'm about. I'm about doing things that inspire possibility and freedom in others. If you're just about making money, then we are not going to get along very well, right? Because there is a side of me that can just make money, but all it brings for me personally is just a lot of suffering.
And I know it is alone.
Now I can just very easily look at things. So I just look at things now like that. I just basically, can weigh things up. And, for me, things like sustainability is very important, as if the business is very transactional and things like that, then we're not going to work out. And it's fantastic now, because before I was always looking at all these business opportunities and the fear of missing out, and I should jump on everything. And how would I know if this is good or bad for me? And I should just get into it and we'll just figure it out and I'll just do more and more and more. Literally was how I lived. And whereas now I can just look at things and say, well, this is what's important to me. What's important to you? Why are you doing it? Who are you? What are you about? What do you want to achieve? And very quickly can sort of sum up whether a good fit or not. It's fantastic.
And I think like being able to use that understanding of who you are as a filter of like opportunities and people, like, does this align or not? Like, are we going to work together or not? Like, I'm really wondering what was the effect of that approach on your business, on the growth of your business, and like how, when you look at your business today, and you're looking at all these opportunities and people and things that you come across, like clients that you come across, and seeing if you actually have something to compare. Now that you know who you are, you actually have something to kind of filter whether you want to work with them or not. How did that approach affect your business? Because I think this is the point where a lot of people say, that sounds all nice and good, but like, surely you just lose out on parts in the business wouldn't work. But I'm really wondering about like these tangible results.
But it's really simple. It's really simple, because if you're putting out, I will look at anything, then guess what? Everything will come back to you. If you're putting out, we are, like we are saying, we are practical, we are actionable business coaching for entrepreneurs and executives. We do things with heart. We want to deal with people with purpose. I'm not going to get someone ringing me saying, Dave, you are really good at doing deals and making sales. Do that for me. That person is
Yeah.
not going to ring me now. They were ringing me before because people would look at the resume and say, this guy's good at this. But we're not putting that out there. So it's that filter has to be the filter that goes out, not just the filter that comes in, right? So I think that's, you know, that's the biggest point. It's like, look at what you're putting out there. Don't worry about,
So
you know, it's
yeah,
cause and
so it's
effect,
almost
right?
more efficient now. Like I don't know. That's kind of my interpretation of what you said, but like by the sounds of it, because you're not the thing that you say that you're more
Yeah.
clear about who you are, what you stand for, what you want to, what kind of thing you want to create in the world. So you're not attracting things that don't align with that either. So it's almost more effective in the terms of that the people that you do attract are actually people that you're likely to want to work with, and therefore get better results for that. And I guess that's the kind of have you seen that? Like, would you say it's more efficient? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's the circles that you hang in and all that sort of stuff. It's, you know, I would rather not sort of have that scarcity mindset and say, well, let's just attract anything, or
Yeah.
let's just talk to anyone and do whatever, and then say, okay, but we'll apply this filter after it.
Yeah.
So why would you do that? That's such a waste of your time, their time. It's just, that's
Yeah.
not fair on anyone. So
Yeah.
what's
No,
the point?
100%.
So, you know, I think being very clear, and we were, I suppose, I'm so committed and driven to what we're doing that I don't have any fear about, is it going to work or is it not going to work? Because I think at a fundamental level, there's two things. It's like, one, if you just really know what you're passionate about and you stick to it, then you're going to have success. But I think the double whammy that we have is like, we're talking about dealing with people and bringing fulfillment as well as profit to them. Like, who
Yeah.
doesn't want that? Like, honestly, name me someone that doesn't want to be happy and have
Yeah.
a giant bank account. Like, it's, you know, that's what people want. And so it's like, I'm not concerned about that. Yes, it's a bit of a unique way of approaching what we do, and you know, and we could just deal with anyone. But honestly, I just think that life's too short, and there are enough people out there that want to actually do meaningful work and connect with people in a
Yeah.
meaningful way. That, you know, I just don't have time for anyone that
Yeah. No,
doesn't want that.
100%. And I love the work that you do. I'm aware that we're kind of getting towards the end of our time now. Um, so
Yep.
I would love to hear if you have anything. For someone that is currently in a business where it's going well, or it's not fulfilling them, and they're kind of at that stage that you were at, where you
Mm.
had kind of Friday rage. um,
Yeah.
what what would you say to them? Like, if they were just chatting to you right now and said, like, Dave, like, this is what's happening. Give me some advice. Do you have something that you feel like would be
Well,
really helpful for
yeah.
them?
Well, look, you know, I'm really that firm believer that, you know, change only happens when, you know, that pain
Yeah.
of staying the same, you know, is more than the change, right? Like, that's just a fundamental rule. Like, humans
Yeah.
are that. So we will just endure hell until
Yeah.
we can't do it anymore. So I suppose the thing to ask is, like, are you actually really ready to change? I mean, like, I speak to a lot of people that sort of look at things and they say, I've just repeated the same thing again. I'm back at square one again. I'm like, you're not back at square one, because every time you do that thing, your frustration level, how
Yeah.
minute it might be, is going to grow. And it's going to get to a point one day where you're just going to crack it and you're going to want
Yeah.
change, right? So just trust the process, right? Like, honestly, I mean, trust the process is a
Yeah.
massive thing that I've followed. And just knowing that, yeah, there is nothing that's exactly the same as what it's been before. So if you keep sort of waking up every Friday and getting Friday rage, well, it's not the same as last Friday because it's
Yeah.
another one, you know. So I think being aware of that and being, you know, okay that you're not a failure because you're going through pain, and you're not a failure because you haven't committed to change. It's just
Yeah.
you're just not ready, and no one can make you ready, right? Like, so a big word that we use in our business is support. We don't help anyone. We can't help
Yeah.
anyone. We support people, but we can't help them. They've got
Yeah.
to do it themselves, right? So that change needs to come from within. And then, yeah, like obviously seek help, do things like meditate,
Yeah.
you know, journal, to start, you know, write the obituary. I mean, like the amount of people I've told to do that, and they've rung me up and gone, "You prick, like I'm bawling my eyes out. This is horrible." I'm like, good, because all I'm doing is helping them to, you know, get through some more pain, to get to the point where they
Yeah.
go, enough's enough. We need to change. So even if, you know, if you are going to hide from it, well, that's fine. It's just going to delay the process. But, you know, one day you're going
I
to
think that's
be fed up. And when you're fed up, we'll find someone that you can deal with, that, you know, whether that's you or that's me or whoever that, it doesn't matter, but where you can sort of sit with them in a very non-judgmental space, you know, and just uncover really who they are and what they're about, and you know, have that freedom to be able to express themselves and be supported, you know, through that journey, because it's not easy. It's not easy to shed the skin of who you've been pretending to
yeah.
be, who you've been, you know, like this whole thing. We're all just, you know, and again, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but broadly just encapsulating the entire world here, but that we, you know, we project this person that's just not us, right? Like it's fear. It's so
Yeah.
fear driven, you know, and they say ignorance is bliss. And it's like, you know what, like that's true. But at some day you're going to wake up and realize that
Yeah.
it's all bullshit, and you better figure it out because time's running out. And yeah, and you just need to find people that can be supportive of you, not
Yeah.
force you to do anything, not try and help you, just support you, and do it in a very, as I say, very
Yeah.
non-judgmental way is what it needs to be, a very
And I
supportive
think that's
environment.
it. Like, I think when in that point, when kind of feeling like, you know, this is just isn't fulfilling me at all, it's easy to get into the mindset of, you know, I'm not enough, I'm doing everything wrong, da da da. And you know, like you were saying, like you, when we have everything that we need, like we have everything that we need within us to get ourselves out of that situation. Sometimes it just takes a more, you know, for like you're saying, the situation to get painful enough for us to actually want to change. Like that doesn't mean we're not enough. It doesn't mean we don't have the
Mm.
we're not able to
Mm.
get ourselves out of it. It's just, you know, sometimes it takes for a little bit more awareness and self-awareness to understand this. I can't take this anymore. It's breaching my standards too much now, and that doesn't mean that. You know, you can't
Yeah.
have support. You can't have people that are rooting for the same thing, or you know, got a different perspective on it. But I think
Mm.
the primary um, thing to understand, I would say, at that point, is to know that you do have it in you to live a better life, and you do have it in you to live a purposeful life, and you do have it in you to make a meaningful impact in the world, and you actually do have something to add to the world. You're not just here to exist, and people are here to help you, to support you.
Mm.
Yeah,
And you're
you're
not
not
alone.
alone, and but you have
Mm.
everything that you need inside of
Yeah.
you. You might just need some help connecting to that. So yeah, and with that,
I just
yeah,
had one more thing to say on that, though. Sorry, I just had one more thing to say on that. When I realised what change I needed to create in myself prior to walking away from the business, I I had such a fear of judgment from others that I was sort of like, you know, when someone goes through a traumatic experience and then they decide to completely change direction, it's like, oh, that makes sense. When a normal person that hasn't had something happen to them decides to do it, everyone goes, they're batshit crazy. There's
yeah,
something wrong with that person. You know, like they're having a
yeah,
midlife crisis, you know, and there's all these judgments. And I was like, I want to do
all
this,
this judgment
but, you
around.
know, I don't like, can something horrific happen to me, please, so I can, you know, have a reason
Yeah,
to completely change my life? And it was just, you know what, too bad. You just kind
I'll
of
have
had
to
to
be
go
the
through it.
reason.
And it
Yeah,
was, you know, but you know, I completely empathise with people feeling very stuck and frustrated, but I can assure you, yeah, it's so much better on the other side.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Awesome. So, how can people contact you if they would like to know more about what you do, or seek your support, or just kind of follow what you do?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously they can
Yeah.
hit me up on Facebook, or they can jump on our website, which is woofpartners.com.au. Either way of those is probably the easiest way to hit me up. But yeah, as I say, if anyone wants to talk to me on Facebook, we can start talking straight away, or they can book a time and we can go
Awesome.
from there.
Well, thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate you sharing your story, and it is quite vulnerable. It is quite a, but
I enjoyed it.
but I'm sure people will get something out of
Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you.
it. Awesome. Well, have an amazing
Thank you.
evening. Um, yeah, and take care. Thank
You
you.
have a great day. Yeah.
Bye.
All right. See you.